So Matt, a few months back, with all the uncertainty back in March, February, March, part of April, so much uncertainty out there with job losses and reductions in pay and furloughs. The government stepped in, FHFA stepped in, who oversee Fannie and Freddie, and put in some new forbearance rules, what are called COVID forbearance rules. There's pre-COVID forbearance rules and COVID forbearance rules. So if you want to touch on what that means and how that has affected borrowing, and then I'm going to ask Gary a question based off of your answer. But go ahead, Matt.
Sure. So for those of you that don't know what forbearance is, it's literally the ability to skip or defer up to 3 mortgage payments due to, in this case, a COVID-related hardship, right? You've lost a job, something's happened, your pay has been cut, and being able to skip a few months of mortgage payments hopefully gives you that time to get back on your feet and long term, not miss any mortgage payments because you couldn't afford to. So with what we're seeing with forbearance, unfortunately, is a lot of these banks are offering forbearance to homeowners, but not explaining that there might be consequences involved with that if you're looking to either refinance, take advantage of the low rates today, or buy a new house. And really, there's three different situations that you could be in with forbearance. You're either currently in forbearance where you're not making payments currently. You're in a reinstatement period, which means that the bank has put you into forbearance. You don't have to make the mortgage payments on your house right now, but you still are. And finally, there's what's called a deferral. And that's where you skipped 3 months of mortgage payments, and those mortgage payments were then tacked on to the end of your loan. So you're essentially done with the forbearance, but you've deferred 3 payments until the end of the process. And depending on where you're at in the forbearance process, it has different ramifications on your ability to borrow if you're refinancing or purchasing. And regardless of where you're at, there are some things that hold true for any situation. And that is, if you're in forbearance, you have to have a acceptable payment history, both prior to that forbearance and after the forbearance, if you're now looking to refinance or purchase a new home. We don't want to see that you were behind on your payments, right after you came out of forbearance or something like that. The other thing that we're going to need, regardless of the situation that you're in, is a letter from your current lender explaining when that forbearance started, what the terms of that forbearance were, and when it officially ends. Because that's going to determine how we can move forward with a new mortgage for you. And in most cases, if you're in the middle of a forbearance right now, meaning you've skipped 1 or 2 payments, you still have another payment to go. If you're looking to take out a new mortgage, we're going to have to see that forbearance concluded, meaning you've either got to get out of the forbearance, you've got to take yourself out, you've got to make up those back payments, or if you don't have the ability to make up those back payments, what we have to show is that you've been able to make 3 consecutive months payments going forward after the forbearance is ended. And this is one that's tripped us up with a few different clients that just weren't aware. The bank said, hey, we can help you out. You can put this loan into forbearance. They don't really explain those ramifications. And then all of a sudden they were in forbearance, they're out of it. They come to us to refinance their mortgage. And we're like, well, you've got to wait 3 months because we've got to see that you've made 3 payments. Yeah. It doesn't have to be 3 months payments 30 days apart. They just have to be spaced out enough. You can't make 3 payments in 1 day, right? But it doesn't have to be a full 90 days either. It can be, as long as it's spread out a little bit, you're okay. And then
let me just chime in real quick, because this is a good time to ask Gary. Gary, when you're talking to sellers, potential sellers, do you ask, or have you asked? It's pretty new, so maybe you haven't had the opportunity to yet. But is it within your bank of questions that you would ask a seller in preparing their home to sell? Have you, or are you currently in a COVID-related forbearance?
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of have made sure that we've added that to our, kind of list of questions, whether that be when we're pre-qualifying a seller on the phone or whether we're sitting in their living room or kitchen discussing their home sale. So typical questions that we would ask before regarding the home and what they're expecting on value and where they're going. All of those are very standard, but we've kind of added that question pertaining to forbearance. It's almost dual-sided, right? Double-sided is that if you're a seller and you are meeting with your Real Estate One realtor to discuss the marketing and selling of your home, make sure that in the event they do not ask you, that you put that out there, regardless of what stage of forbearance that you're in. We're here to help you along that process, and we'll team you up with our John Adams mortgage rep to see where you're at and what we can do. But I think if you're a seller, make sure that you disclose that to your Real Estate One realtor, and on the same front, expect that the question may come from us as well, so that we can better determine where you're at in your situation. It could definitely affect your ability to find and purchase another home, like Matt just mentioned, in the time frame that we have. It could potentially change your net proceeds at the end of the sale if you forget that those missed payments or for the payments that were in forbearance are going to be tacked on the back end. So the money that you're expecting to receive from the sale of your home could be impacted by it. And the last thing we want to do is sell your home, which we're very confident we can do at a high price in a short amount of time. That's great. But if we cannot put you in another home because of this forbearance, that could put us all in a tight situation, which we want to figure that out ahead of time. So absolutely, Larry, to answer your question, we want to make sure we discuss that up front.
Yeah, and similar to what we talked about with Deborah a few minutes ago, being prepared and communicating with your loan officer is key, because when Matt's pre-approving somebody and either he finds out through a credit report or being told by the realtor that somebody's in forbearance, he and all loan officers can properly prepare the realtor, the seller, because the beauty of the COVID forbearance piece is that you can still buy. You don't have to wait the traditional 12 months from forbearance, so you can buy now. So Matt, quickly, can you talk about the different types of loans and what the forbearance rules are for those?
Yeah, of course. So if you've got a conventional FHA or rural development loan, and you started a forbearance, but you've made the payments throughout the forbearance, you didn't skip anything. As long as we can show you've made those payments, you're good to go. There's no waiting period. As long as we get the proper documentation, it shouldn't hold you up at all. If you did skip the payments or deferred the payments, like I said, we need to show that you've made at least 3 payments since the forbearance ended, and then you're good to go. VA is a little bit different. If you're doing a VA loan, VA doesn't actually have any stipulations regarding forbearance at all. Really what they're looking for is just as long as you can show that you're no longer experiencing any kind of economic hardship, you should be fine. So there is no waiting period with VA once you've come out of the forbearance.
That's great. That's great. VA, we love VA mortgages at John Adams. We love it. We love helping our veterans. It's a great program. So, well, Matt and Gary, thank you very much. This is a lot of great information.